All right. Hey, good afternoon or good morning to everybody. My name is Sherman Crancer, the president of Surveil, and welcome to the Voice of the Microsoft Partner, show program that we have today. It's really, really awesome. We're gonna have a great time today. A lot of really interesting ideas and things that we're going to be sharing with you. And we're basically focusing on the best and worst marketing practices for MSPs, managed service providers, but this includes Dynamics providers, ISVs, all SIs, and whatnot. This event evidently is our largest registration of the year. We have over 700 partners. Over 500 viewing on LinkedIn Live, which is really awesome. Now, for the folks that are here, thanks so much for coming. This is, our very interactive, show here. So we have a few things just to mention here. Number one, make sure that you put your name and your contact information or what you specialize in the chat window, because we want to use this as a forum to work with others, right? We want to do that. Number one. Number two, we want to make sure you click on the Mentimeter, which is on the controls on the very top of your Teams your team's platform, and we're using that as our interactive way today. So while we're having these discussions, we want you to go ahead and provide your insights or your questions, whatnot. Otherwise, go to the chat window if you have some questions that you might want to ask our speakers. Feel free to go ahead and put that in there, and we'll kind of take a look at what that is. So with that being said, let me go ahead and get into the agenda here. There's just, we have welcome, and that's what we did already, right? We're going to introduce the guest speakers. They're highly qualified folks here, really, really awesome, here. And then we're going to do ISV Showcase, which is we're going to demo this software asset management tool called Surveil. I'm the president of the company. I figured this would be appropriate time to kind of show again. And then we're going to get really into the meat of it, and that's about 46 minutes worth of best and worst marketing strategies for MSPs. And we're breaking that up into 3 different sections. You're going to leave today with strategy, with ideas, do's and don'ts, and and bets. Really, what are the biggest bets that are being placed on by leaders of companies that are their revenue is in the hundreds of millions of dollars, right? But they influence partners too, which is really awesome, right? They influence partners, and so I'm just so excited to have this. And then we'll always open it up for a little bit of Q&A afterwards for everybody here. All right, now we are using PowerPoint inside of this, so links are live inside the PowerPoint. So if you want to register for something else, you want to click on something, no problem, go ahead and do that. Happy to accommodate. Or if you need anything, please, we have a bunch of moderators on here ready to go ahead and answer your questions. All right, sounds good. Well, let's go get to the guest speakers here. I want to give each person a chance to introduce themselves and their role at their organization. And we're going to start with the top left, and we'll go right around, if you don't mind. So Jeff, would you mind unmuting and just introducing yourself?
Sure. My name is Jeff Edwards. I have responsibility for the indirect provider program, CSP indirect provider program for Stratos Cloud. I spent 16, 17 years at Microsoft, including the majority of that time in the Dynamics ecosystem, running partner programs and strategy. So certainly got a lot of examples of great marketing and not so good marketing, both inside of Microsoft and amongst the partner ecosystem. So really looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Bill Anderson.
Hey, I'm Bill Anderson. I'm CMO for Velasio and Stratos Cloud Alliance. I can't wait to get off this call and ask Jeff if any of that bad marketing came from us. So very excited to be here today.
Never.
Great. Awesome. We'll go over to Scott May.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Scott May. I'm the Director of Channel Development with Stratos Cloud Alliance, and I work with partners to help them out with Microsoft Indirect CSP, getting them on board with us, getting them to do marketing with us and all of the great marketing activities and folks that we have, and helping them go through and drive more cloud revenue through Microsoft.
Fantastic. And we all know pretty much who SkyKick is, but Aditya, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and your organization? Oh, I think you're on mute. Aditya, hold on, you're on mute, bud.
Hi guys,
There you
Here
go.
I am, Aditya, marketing whiz who can't even turn on his microphone. I'm based out of Seattle, as you can see, beautiful from Kerry Park, if you guys are familiar with where it is. SkyKick actually is 100%, partner-driven ISV model, right? So we basically provide tools which actually help customers move to the cloud, be secure in the cloud, and then automate the MSP functions to help them out. So I've learned a lot. Most of the stuff I'll share today is based on us working with more than 3,500 partners we have out there. So you don't have to beat up the informer out here. You can always go back to our MSPs and get more information about it as well. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Kim.
Hi guys, my name's Kim and I'm the Channel Marketing Manager for Stratos Cloud Alliance. So I'm here to help facilitate our partners with marketing campaigns in a box and really supporting Scott on the channel development side and Jeffrey here, who will be coming up after me from the partner enablement side. So providing partners with marketing assets and resources to drive demand with their customers and prospects.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. And a great Jeffrey DiMaria. Jeffrey.
Hey, Sherman, thanks for having us on the call today. My name's Jeffrey DiMaria. I do partner enablement here at the Stratos Cloud. I really like to help our partners grow their business, tapping into our resources to help expand your footprint and leveraging the resources that our team. So we have a number of amazing programs and hope that, when partners want to expand into new business areas or just focus in on dynamics, we're here to help you engage with the team.
Fantastic. This is great. We got a great panel here. Really, really proud of and just fortunate to have them. So thank you, everybody. All right, so we're going to go ahead and, we run a tight ship here. We're going to get right into Surveil. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to switch cameras because I'm going to go into a little bit of a demo here. Let me go ahead and go to my device settings here. Now, one moment. There we go. Can you still hear me? Feel good? All right, let me go ahead and share my screen here. So what we want to do here is an ISV showcase, and let me just kind of give you a little bit of background here. About a year and a half ago, I remember talking to my wife and thinking to myself, saying, hey, everything's just so good right now, right? Everything's so good. Everyone's buying Sea-Doos, buying extra cars, buying houses. And, interest rates were down to like 1%. And I said, this reminds me of the 2008 housing crash where everybody had all this extra money and doing stuff. And then what happened after that, right? Well, we had a recession. And I remember telling my wife this about a year ago, saying, hey, I think something's going to come up. I didn't know, of course. And then now we are seeing the early, inflation is up, right? We're seeing gas prices up. We're seeing a recession is coming. Okay, and I think this is actually important to understand that, from the perspective of what we're going to end up doing with marketing, moving forward. And what I want to talk about is a tool that I believe is probably one of the best tools to help with recession planning and proofing, right? And the ability to keep adding net new customers and also differentiating yourself against other partners that might be going after your customers when the recession hits, right? Because people are going to start getting a lot more cost conscious, and we're seeing that right now. We're seeing tightening of belts. So what this tool is really designed for is to help you go into net new accounts and basically show them, what they're doing wrong. So what Surveil is the first of its kind software asset management tool that uses read-only access into Azure M365 and security, right? Read-only access, so there's no agent, and it deploys an agent, well, not an agent, but it deploys inside of a licensing environment. And what it does then, it spends about 2 weeks just looking at everything that's going on inside of Azure, inside of Office 365 and the security, and basically then uses machine learning and asset tags to create recommendations. Okay, in Azure, wastage spending, right? I would say recommendations inside Office 365. Now, we all know that when you get over 100 seats, it's almost impossible to manage the licenses and the SKUs and joiners and levers and whatnot. Now, I'm going to give you another sobering stat. One of the things that the Crancer Group does is run Azure immersion workshops, and they ran 3,000 SMC clients through their workshops last year, right? Out of those 3,000, we did a poll. We said, well, out of the 3,000, how many are you pay-as-you-go? Very interesting stat here, right? 2,400 of those SMC clients bought through pay-as-you-go. That's interesting. Then the next question was, how many of you are using reserved instance and hybrid use benefit? And you know what the percentage was? 13%. 13%. So what they're doing is they're buying it on MSRP, and that's what the majority of customers out there just don't know what they're doing. So what Surveil does is the initial step is you run what's called a Microsoft health check. It's actually pretty simple. It's 5 clicks for a client, and it's not invasive at all because it's read-only access. You let the health check sit there for 2 weeks, right? And then what it's going to do is going to produce 2 reports. And I just want to show these to you kind of just from the high-level overview. And it will take a look and it says, you know something, we took a look at your Azure environment and we noticed that you're not using enough hybrid benefit. We noticed that there's a lot of machines that we can use reserved instance for. We've noticed that there's a lot of zombie resources that are out there, maybe test dev folks that have spun stuff up that just haven't put it down, as well as the idle and oversized services. Next, it looks at VM optimization. Well, hey, you know, you're currently using a DS3 V20 and you should be using a DS3 V4. You shouldn't be doing that. And then lastly, which we see a lot of savings on, is storage optimization, right? A lot of people are using premium SSD when they don't need to do it. So the very first pages, it says, well, hey, we took a look at your environment and the typical savings is between 15 and 30%. Very interesting because people just don't have it figured out and optimized. And that's what's important about it. But if you take a look, we give you a whole report, as you can see here, that goes over the reserved instances, that talk about all the different things that might be in your environment. Kubernetes. No one seems to understand how to manage Kubernetes costs, but in this you can, right? So you start out with this health check, that's on Azure. And then on M365, it's the same thing. Now, what M365 does is even better because what we can end up doing, or Office 365, is take a look at all the licenses, take a look at joiners and leavers, take a look at, you know, the company profile, how many AD accounts there are, right, based on how many people they actually have. It's very interesting. How many people have used the licenses, how many people are not using licenses. And this is where you really come down to finding savings, right, within this. But then also the last thing it does is it gives a security overview snapshot. Now, Microsoft loves this tool, you believe it or not, even though we're saying we're going to find wastage, because the new initiative right now is to move from E3 to E5, right? Office 365 to M365 E3 and E5. Now, they're utilizing this tool to say, hey, look, you have a lot of third-party costs. You're triple, quadruple paying for the same stuff that you're already buying through licensing. And this tool is a really great precursor to help you out. So the first step is do the health check. Now, the second thing is after we do a health check for a customer, we explain to them, say, hey, what we want to do is now monitor your environment, okay, over every month. And now this is where the partner profitability piece comes in. This tool, okay, plus your partner profitability will increase your licensing margin by about 40%. So just think about this. If you're only making 17 points, we can add an additional 40% on top of that, because what you end up doing is now creating an annuity where you're basically providing them day-to-day or monthly reporting on their environment to make sure they're constantly optimized. Now, it's very simple. You sign into Microsoft. We get into the demo company, and I'm just going to show you 3 things here because I know we're on time and I want to make sure that we're really close here. But when I'm working with a customer, and I recently signed up a customer that had 11,000 seats, right? And we had one 11,000. I'm going to talk about the one that we had 6,000 seats on. And that one with 6,000 seats, the cost of the tool was $4,500 a month, right? We ended up saving them $1.8 million. We charge them $12,000 a month for the tool. Now, the amount of time that I spend on this is about 2 hours a month with that particular client. So think about that, right? Think about what that hourly wage is just to do 2 hours worth of work. But the main thing here is when you have this tool, every month you're going to go into overview. And what this uses is Power BI embedded. Okay, Power BI embedded to really take a look at all of the potential pieces that are inside. Now, this is Azure, right? So we can see our subscriptions, resource category, total cost by subscription. We can go down to the cost summary, right? We can get into these nitty gritties, right? Where we say, okay, this is the highest production cost you have, maybe by meter. We can go into different subscriptions and actually use that and look at the different subscriptions and provide reporting. So as you can see here, we get a lot of information. But what I typically do is I always go to the recommendations first. And this is what you kind of saw inside of that health check report. Every month I download the recommendations, and the recommendations are basically saying, hey, this is what you need to do to reduce your costs and be optimized. That's the beauty of this. It actually does all the work for you. So now you have an MBR component possibly for you. Every month you can go and talk to them. But most importantly, you know, with your current customers, you'd want to use this tool as a monthly business report, right, with your current customers, but also as a way to help them understand, do some planning, NCE planning or security planning. So this gives us a summary, and we can go into every bit of detail. I mean, it's like 3,000 reports in here. I'm not going to touch them because I'm going to make you spin. We're here for marketing, but I just want to talk to you about this, okay? Now, let me just show you one other thing here on Office 365. It's the same thing, right? We get into Office 365, and we can just get into bits and down to the user who decided, who maybe was thinking about enabling a license, right, on that. So hold on, it's going to come up here just a second. So this overview is basically, we can go, and I'm going to show you one that's really important, is joiners and leavers, right? People that are joining the company, enabled accounts, licensed, unlicensed, we can do that. And the last thing I'm going to show you here is the security assessment. And this is an important piece of it. And I don't want to minimize this, but I want to just talk about, we've seen some changes recently too in Office 365 E3 and E5, right? They've kind of reduced it. You can't get endpoint manager. Now you have to go to the M class, right? But where we have here is, this was a third-party cost tool where we can basically take a look at all of your current telemetry inside of Microsoft 365 and also look at all of your third-party vendors and do a cost comparison, which will then end up giving us an investment return of, if we optimize your license, increase your score, we can stop paying an extra 100,000, in this instance, 100,000 for all those third-party costs, because you're already paying for it with Microsoft. So with that being said, I just wanted to give you an overview, but the reason why I'm doing this is because out of the top 10 Microsoft partners in the world right now, 3 of them have bought this tool just recently. Okay, 3 of them. Think about this. And they are going after all the Microsoft SMC accounts as they think, wow, this is the best way to open up the door. Hey, look, before we talk to you about your environment, hey, let's run a health check. That's what they're doing. And then let's take a look at what's wrong with your competitor. They didn't optimize this. They didn't do this. Now it's a new way to bring them over. Okay, that is really the presentation for today. What I want to do here is, I do have a deep dive next week. We have it October 4th, 5th, and 6th. We're going to go ahead and present the link we'll put it in the chat window as well. You can go ahead and register for that, as well as I have some links here for calculators, how we actually make money, how a partner makes money, and it'll blow you away. So next week, I'm going to do a deep dive where we're giving you guys credentials. You can go into the tool and we'll talk about all of that. Okay, awesome. That's what I wanted to do today. I hope that was well worth your time, but let's get into the meat of what we're doing here, which is really, marketing and talking about the best in use cases. So everybody, if you could click on the Mentimeter, Mentimeter, not multimeter, Mentimeter, click on that, and I think that's going to help us start off with strategy. Do you have a marketing strategy? So why don't we, actually, I'm going to start off with Jeff Edwards, if you don't mind. We're going to kick it off with you today. What would you, what does marketing strategy mean to you?
Yeah, I think generally it's what is the customer problem you're trying to solve, and what's your unique position in solving that problem, and how are you going to reach those customers and put together a compelling message on how you're the best possible partner to deliver on solving the customer's problem.
Okay, that's really good. Bill, how would you approach this?
First, I would unmute. Look, I think Jeff hit it, but the key word in what he said was unique. Before I took over marketing for Stratos, I had a consultancy. I worked with 25 or 30 partners, and they all thought they had a great strategy, but that strategy was typically built on poor messaging. There's 700 marketers on this call today, and probably 650 of them are saying the exact same things. You really have to search, come up with what's unique about your company, spend twice as much time as you think you need to spend in refining that message and making sure that message is, relevant and appealing to your market. When you can't spend any more time defining yourselves and how you want to be presented, then go build your go-to-market strategy. But really focus on how you present yourself, what is unique about yourself. Make sure that what you're saying can't be said by the 10 partners sitting next to you. That's what I would suggest.
So that's interesting. I think a lot of in our industry, we're not as strong in that marketing and sales. Let's just be honest. We're not. We're great tacticians. We're great implementers. We're above beyond, right? But just not necessarily in the sales and marketing. And what you just mentioned there, Bill, the uniqueness part of it, you have to stand out, because if Google AdWords, right? If you put MSP services, it's like $100 a click, because everybody's doing that, right? Everyone's saying their name.
Right. Well, and I think we work with Microsoft. Microsoft is one of the premier marketers in the world, and they present us with all this great messaging around their products. And it's we're like moths to a light. We tend to go and adopt Microsoft's messaging and roll out with that, and we forget that doesn't differentiate us as a partner at all.
No, that it definitely doesn't. We, for many years we were, or with the partners that we manage, it's all about, hey, let's create vertical offers, right? In vertical, how do you help healthcare, the industry solve these problems, and what problems are you solving, right? Because that's what people are kind of thinking, but not being there. Aditya, how would you approach this? How would you approach marketing?
I think, it's kind of interesting what everyone is saying. As we think about, marketing, I mean, remember back in the day, we learned all these 4 Ps of marketing, the pricing and the packaging and the promotion and all that. I think it's critical to understand that marketing is actually integral to every aspect of the business strategy, right? I mean, when we think about the product or the service that you're taking to market as an MSP, right? How do you set it apart from the others, right? How do you start thinking about the pricing aspect of it based on your expertise and your intellectual property, as opposed to kind of selling, individual service technologies? And, again, thinking about that, right? I mean, as you move on, then comes the nuts and bolts of kind of the digital marketing aspect, and then the content you're creating out there, right? But I think the thing that we also forget is that people are an integral part of your marketing strategy, right? How do you make them, part of your brand and value as part of it? So again, what we learned back in the day actually is true. But, we also have a tendency to kind of confuse the marketing function with the role that someone plays in a marketing organization, right? And as I said, it's critical for that marketing savvy person to have a seat at the table. Right now, as you said, a lot of us in the MSP community don't have a strong marketing or sales experience, but we do, right? And it's, again, understanding what is the scope of marketing and how do you define that across the board.
That's great.
And as to this, I mean, what we have done is, also, if you want to learn a little bit more about this, we have a blog, with white papers and some infographics and all that. But again, the reality is that think about this holistically, and then you become integral to the, discussion within your organization.
Yeah. So let me go back to Jeff for a moment here. The time that's spent on developing your organization and customer persona, could you maybe elaborate a little bit on that, just from like your perspective? As I think a lot of us don't spend enough time on who we are and what makes us different.
Yeah, I think it's you kind of start with the skill set of the people you have. Usually these are existing businesses. Go out and look at the customers that you've won. How many of them are raving fans? Why are they raving fans? And that allows you kind of to position yourself in such a way that will resonate with the next company that looks like the companies that you've won. I think there's, to Bill's point, there's a lot of people taking off-the-shelf messaging from Microsoft, and then you end up as one of 10 partners kind of saying the same thing. Your win rate, how attractive you are after you drag them in the door is probably more important than the number of people you drag in the door, right? So why am I going to be, I think we're probably hammering on the same thing. Why am I going to be the one they choose? Make sure you have something. Hey, someone waved their hand. Well, here I have some content, some differentiated knowledge to tell them how there's going to be a positive impact on their business. Here I have a reference that looks like them and talks like them, hopefully in the same vertical, that can say, yeah, these guys really did it for me. I got real results out of that. Have people on staff that can talk in the language of that customer, right? So really making the differentiation of, hey, I've done this. It's a problem that you have. It's a problem we've solved, and here's a number of our customers that can tell you how great we are at it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Jeff. I mean, one of the things that we see our MSPs do is that, they take different technologies, right? And they build kind of the solution for specific, industry, if you may, right? And, it's really not about selling that individual solution. It's really around taking a package of that and making that package as unique, differentiator in the market, right? So again, you can still use some of the content Microsoft gave you, but again, you want to embellish that and make it relevant for, the actual audience you got.
Gosh, that you just encapsulated my last 2 years of guidance with partners. Come on, let's build a package. Let's make it different. Let's stop selling product. Sell you. Sell the solution to the problem. Kim, how would you approach this from your perspective and your role?
Well, as everyone says, you've got the who and the what in the challenge, and you developed your unique positioning. I think another key part of this is that consistency is key. Marketing is an exercise of consistency across all the channels where you're reaching your target audience and persona. I mean, that's why one thing Stratos does, and something we emphasize with our partners, is making sure you're establishing that thought leadership, and we provide the means for them with campaigns in a box, whether it's blogs for thought leadership for them to post on their website. We pre-can social media posts for them so that they're hitting their LinkedIn networks and all of that, and then also generating that weekly marketing cadence for them to for that solution area that they may be trying to drive demand for with their customers and prospects. So
that's cool.
Speaking to your audience where they are and making sure you're doing that consistently across those channels is a huge thing.
I think it's
Well
great,
said.
Kim. I think at times the partner ecosystem is like, hey, we market when we need a deal, when we see a gap in our pipeline, let's go do some marketing. When in reality, it's a constant thing, and you can space out your opportunities and your implementations as you get them. But doing that kind of hunt and eat activity as opposed to constant conversation out there, it's really critical.
Right. There's no one solution fix all here. It's right. You just got to be that, you have to be top of mind with folks when that time comes and they're looking to you for the solution and answer to their problems.
Yeah, I really like what you said, Kim, about, consistency and storytelling, right? Because I think, sometimes marketers, we're held, we're kind of guilty of, getting different messages out depending on what we want to do in the short term. And again, that consistent storytelling, also resonates from our honesty and the integrity of the MSP, right? You're actually at, to Jeff's point, you're not trying to solve a small, issue or trying to hit your numbers right now. You need to kind of build a brand around your consistency, which is going to drive, more customers towards you.
Bill?
No, I was just going to say, words like storytelling and consistency. There are partners that say, "Hey, let's go vertical," or "Hey, let's go focus on this," and then they say they turn right to the marketing people and they say, "Go write some cool stuff, go do some cool stuff." And then there are the partners that do cool stuff and they engage the right way and they're actually involved deeply in an industry. All the marketer has to do is tell that story. So be careful you don't look at your marketing team to create the story. Be the story, do the right thing, and then hire smart marketers that know how to tell the story of what you're actually doing. And I believe in that because I've been in a position where marketing was looked at, take us vertical, go generate vertical stuff. Customers are really smart today. They read all the time and they can tell when a marketer made something up or stretched the truth. They know it. You have to talk about what you're doing. So look at how you engage and then tell the story of that.
Scott, what are your thoughts? And I'll go to Jeff right after this. What are your thoughts from your perspective? And you're seeing it from different roles.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with kind of what everybody's saying, right? You really got to go through and hone your unique selling position, your message, your strategy, what makes you unique. Certainly, as Kim said, right, frequency, it can't just be a one-time thing. And then, you really need to go through and be diligent about, tracking, your metrics, right? If you're not measuring it, it's not getting improved. And this with all the partners that you work with, the consistency of doing multiple things per month and then looking at, okay, what are we getting in? And you really need to start with what's the end in mind, right? If you're a Covey person, and back into, all right, this is our goal. how many, leads do we need to generate based upon the conversion of those going to opportunities versus those opportunities closing? Because if you don't understand the metrics behind the marketing, you're really not going to go through. You're probably going to spend money, unwisely. You're not going to really understand, are we getting the value that we need out of it? After you do all of the work to get to the point of starting, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's an important piece of the strategy. You've got to have a tool to measure it, to monitor it, to, and it's not, it's monthly, right? Hey, what's working, what's not? We've got to make adjustments. You got to look at the personas that you're marketing to, make adjustments to the messaging, make adjustments to the call to action. And it's a constant, process to, evolve that, right? It's not a one-time thing.
So true. So true. All right, we're going to shift a little bit gears. I'm going to go to Jeffrey. Jeffrey's going to start this. We're kicking off, and maybe you can give a little bit of thought on that last one, but we're going to get into the best and worst tactics of marketing, I guess. And Jeffrey, we're going to shift the Mentimeter, I think. Actually, Kathleen, do you want to go ahead and present maybe what the results of the last Mentimeter here? I think it might be interesting to see, how many people have marketing strategies. Let's see if we can get that one up here. So interesting. So yeah, 15 said yes. We have a few that said no. I think so. I think there's a lot more of that, and then working on it. So that's actually an interesting, look at it. And I think what you're going to be able to take away from today is marketing is so important. We've got that recession, and I know it's kind of a little bit of a drag down, but that's when it's going to be the most important. Okay, I'm just telling you right now, start putting some money into that, because you want to make sure you continue to grow or stay there, but come out of that recession in a couple of years. You got to think. I'm always thinking like 4 or 5 steps ahead, right? Always like what's going to be next. You want to do that. All right, so let's go ahead. Next one is sharing your best marketing tactics. Go ahead in there and go ahead and put in there. But let's go ahead and go over to Jeffrey. Jeffrey, you run a call every month with your partners over at Stratos Cloud Alliance, and do you have, what would you share are maybe best and worst tactics?
Well, we try to build things at scale, right? We want to make sure that we can work with our partners, and with all these amazing tools that all of us pretty much have access to, I think you have to have a plan and leverage the tools to execute it, right? And with that, you need to test, because when you have these powerful tools at your fingertips, you can make a million errors without even realizing it. So I just caution people, absolutely have your plan in place. And then when you're using your tools, make sure you test and be careful, because you can make a lot of errors without realizing it. And, one of the big things I heard in the past is you can't put toothpaste back in the tube, right? So just be careful with the tools that you're doing, and just make sure you have the right people in place to be able to execute properly.
Okay. So Jeffrey, on that, I'm going to extrapolate a little on that. One of the banes of my existence and my team's existence is this webinar registration for this show. Okay. I'm just going to tell you right now, it is the bane. And we have literally squeezed out the whole bottle of toothpaste, trying to put it all back in with our email marketing, and we do it the wrong way. But yeah, I think that's so important, right? Is finding the tools. And we're still always thinking how can we do this? But hey, we got 700 people to this darn thing, so we're doing something right? But I think the test piece of it, absolutely. I do want to mention one small thing, and this is back to the strategy. So being consistent, and I'm going to take this program actually as a very interesting way of looking at things. We started this program as a way to give back to the partner community. Me, over the past 34 shows, we don't really sell in this thing. This is really giving back to the community. But transparently, my market is MSPs. Really, that's what it is. That's who it is. And what we've been doing is consistently. We started this with 10 people. 10 partners attended this, the very first one. Now it's at 700, but because every single month we're consistent. Now, some of my team on here will probably moan and groan because I'm like, nope, we got to keep it going. And I'm like, hey, let's do this every Friday. Let's do it every day, right? And they're like, no, they're about to revolt, right? They're all about to quit on me. But it's about being consistent, right? And about an industry. And that's the last thing I'm gonna mention on that is if you think about it in a strategy wise, why don't you, each and every one of you, why don't you have your own industry call? Why don't you? Why don't you have a vertical industry call? Why don't you? And you start small, but you end up getting big. And this is where you mine. We probably get 3 or 4 calls every single month, 5, 6 calls every single month saying, hey, Sherman, what do you do exactly? How can you help us? But we never ask. But what we're doing is we're consistently building the profile of what we do and how we do it, right? So think about that. That is important. All right, let me go over to Aditya, best and worst.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. I mean, as a marketer, people always think that, we are the people telling the stories or throwing the stuff out there, right? But we forget the most important, job of ours is to actually listen. Right. And I think it becomes even more critical right now for us to listen, but not only listen to what the market is saying or what the customers are saying, but actually listen to our sellers, because at the end of the day, they're going to be the people who are going to carry that message across when they do need to, close that deal with their customer. Right. So again, it's critical to make them part of your planning process. I think the other thing is that, also a lot of the MSPs we work with are kind of smaller MSPs. And, they always get, overwhelmed by saying, oh, my gosh, I'm going to have to spend all this big budget on marketing when it's really 1/3 of a job of someone who sits in the front office. Right. And again, my guidance to them is just create short form videos, right? Pick up your iPhone and just talk on your iPhone and talk about what your point of view at that, moment is. Just go ahead and get it on LinkedIn, right? Nothing has to be fancy. People just want to consume data in the TikTok format, right? So let's just adopt the mediums that a lot of people are using as part of it, right? So I think those are a couple of things to consider as you do that. And finally, people like you are great. You're an influencer. If I can get my stuff on your website, Sherman out there, I've got this connection with someone who says, hey, what, SkyKick is great, Aditya is great, right? So take advantage of the influencers out there. I think, some of the points that Bill made earlier, and I think, even, Scott said earlier is that, a lot of people don't, rely on analytics for tracking their information, right? And again, they just don't develop and, define what the ROI is. And I think it's critical to do that. And then finally, what the other people do is, as Jeffrey said, they don't test enough, or they abandon the platform, way too soon, even before the testing is completed, right? So again, be wary of those, be there for the long run and don't actually try to make this a short-term investment.
How about stop being everything to everyone and focus on some things that are going to make you some money, good margin, and be an expert at it? Bill, what do you think about that?
I love it. I love it. Actually, that kind of feeds into what I was going to suggest. I mean, you come onto a call like this and everybody out there is looking for those tactics, those things that we can do. My tactical advice would be to get the heck out of the campaign business. For years we ran campaigns, right? Marketing put together a campaign and it had a call to action, and that call to action had a form, and that form generated a lead, and then we figured out how many we could close. People don't operate that way anymore. What I tell my team is come up with something great and build a great landing page and build it so that it can be found by Google and build it so that when people get there, it's easy to engage and it's compelling. Then just talk about it everywhere, social, email, your partners. The list goes on. We have so many mediums at our fingertips. Come up with a great landing page or a great spot for people to engage with you, and then just talk about it across every medium you can find. Don't create a landing page every time you want to run a campaign. Marketers tend to get stuck in this. I've got to come up with this great thing, this great thing, this great thing. And that's all they do is come up with great things. Come up with one great thing and then talk about it across every medium you can find.
Oh, that's as they would say on Breaking Bad, church. I don't know if you've been watching this lately. That's church, man. Let's go, Jeff. What would you say, best and worst, in your opinion?
Jeff Edwards, I would. I've seen a lot, and it's kind of very customer centric. I've seen a lot of success in being very specific to business outcomes. And when you get specific, you generally get vertically specific, right? When somebody sees something, it's like, yes, that's my problem, and wow, that's an amazing result they got from that. And if I had that same result, that would be really amazing. So, getting specific to the customer and the specific solution and outcomes they get from a business perspective. Spell it out, right? What was the ROI? How much money did they save? How many more customers did they get? How much inventory did they shrink? Whatever it might be, right? I think from a worse perspective, there's a challenge in all the partners should recognize that if they have happy customers, they're viewed as a trusted advisor on some level in terms of technology. Balance continuing to sell what you sell today to new people with broadening your solution to your existing customers, because from a success perspective on the marketing side, your batting average goes up a lot higher, assuming you have happy customers. Your batting average goes up a lot higher with existing customers. So expanding at some level, and Microsoft does an awesome job at making this possible. What's the next solution you can offer that fits in and extends that vertical value proposition, right? Hey, hey, I already solved your inventory problem with supply chain. Now I'm solving your sales quoting problem with another solution, either ISV or a Microsoft solution. So expand what you sell to your existing customer and make that story even more specific to customer and specific to the value that other like customers would find.
Oh, excellent. That's excellent. Scott, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to make mine best and worst for the same thing, right? At least from where I come from and what I respond to and react to is mainly on social media nowadays, right? And so, if it's on LinkedIn or Twitter, they're very targeted, as everybody else is saying, specific kind of unique value selling positions with thought leadership that is specific to, what I work in and day out, right? They could be, ebooks, they could be white papers, it could be, tools, right, that I can use to help kind of, hey, improve your business, take, this or use this tool. I'm constantly trying to go through and learn, and getting that type of information presented to me, that I, just like Jeff Edwards said, right? Hey, that sounds like me. This is good information that I want to learn more about so I can do better at what I do or improve our systems. And most of that I see in social media. I get 10,000 emails a day. I don't respond to many of those. It's when I'm out there actively looking or doing a search, as Bill said, right? It comes up and I see it and I go to the landing page and I go, yeah, let me download that. Got to be quick, got to be easy. I don't want to fill out a whole bunch of stuff. I give my name, my email, and that's it. Great. That helps me out. People follow up with me. A lot of times I am engaged, sometimes I'm not. The worst is social media from a standpoint of getting LinkedIn contacts where people want to connect with you. And then you connect with them, and 2 seconds later, you're getting basically an automated, oh, hey, we'd like to go through and sell you that. It just happened to me before this call. I got a connection request, and then all of a sudden I get this, hey, you do this. Would you like to? I'm like, that's the worst, right? Just turns me off. I think it probably turns everybody off. You understand if someone's using an in-mail and kind of targeting you specifically and understands who you are and is reaching out to you. But when they reach out to you for connection and then you accept that connection, and then all of a sudden the next thing that you get is basically a spam LinkedIn message. Don't do that. That's the worst. And especially when they basically don't even understand who you are and they use like an old company name. They see my profile, but they didn't use my current company name. They used my previous company name. I'm like, okay, obviously there's a bot doing this or something, right? That's the worst.
So, I remember those networking days when we were younger, and we're like, we're gonna go network, right? And those big networking things. And I just remember going to those, and people would forget your name right after you said it, and they would just and they would be like, and what can you give me? I changed my marketing philosophy many years ago, and I met this one older gentleman when I was at I was being a stockbroker, and he just says, hey, look, your life should be about giving first. You give first, you give, you help people out. He goes, it will come back to you. Don't you worry about it. It will. And I didn't quite understand that at first, but it stuck with me. And that's how I market, really. How I get myself out there is giving first. Anybody who calls me needs some advice, no problem. You need to be connected? Absolutely. Sounds great. No problem. I don't even talk about what I do, but it's really about helping people first, because they will remind who you are, later down the road, and they'll be like, oh, hey, by the way. So I always give. This whole thing that we do here, we spend a lot of money on this. This is giving. All right, this is giving back to the community, helping you guys win more, faster, more. So that's the thought. All right, we're going to get into big bets, but before we get into that, I want to, and Kim, I'm going to have you start with big bets in the marketing program we talked about earlier. But can we go and see what the audience, if Kathleen can go ahead and pull up the audience response to our Mentimeter. So in-person events, okay, vertical business outcomes, that's good. Think of a story you're trying to tell and who your audience may be. That's excellent, right? I think we talked about that. Postcards, physical via email once a quarter, and we blog every week. That's important. Actually, let's talk about the blogging. I knew a great company who mandated that all of their technicians blogged every week. But what they did is they did pizza on Wednesdays, and they had all of their technicians come in while they're having pizza lunch. They were doing their blog for the week. And that's actually how they built their business. Very interesting. A lot of times it's hard to get our engineers to do anything besides what they do, right? But give them some food, maybe when they come back in the office. Make sure to invest in your original research and ideas. Yeah, I think customer persona, account mapping, a lot of these things are really important. All right, let's go into big bets, because I think this is important for everybody here. Probably the most important one, because you're going to be seeing what bets are. Now, you're going to be a small marketer, a small partner, or a large partner. I think that this is really are going to be good. So why don't you go ahead and share with us what are your big bets that you think, and then we're going to go into our group here and talk about it. So Kim, why don't we talk to you first here? What are your big bets? Coming from the marketing perspective with Stratos Cloud Alliance partners.
Yeah, one of our big bets for the coming years is just a return to events. I feel like this year we saw some lukewarm attendance of people, wanting to get back out there. But I think looking forward to next year, you can really feel the energy and the desire from attendees and all that to get back to the events, to get that direct engagement with either your peers in your network or, that target audience that you're trying to reach. Because we say you can use the tools and the data, but there's no other greater thing than just getting right down to it and talking to that person and them telling you exactly what they're looking for, what they're interested in, what they're looking for from you. And that includes, Sherman, like we have partners doing this customer immersion experiences with you guys as well. So again, honing and looking another big year for events, I think, is for 2023.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right. Jeff Edwards, why don't we ask you? Well, and then we'll go to Bill and then to Scott.
Big bets. I think really expanding on the value prop you have right now and the solution set you have right now with your current customers, and how you can make that compelling and get more activity and more opportunities out of your current customers. I think there's so much out there that's both from Microsoft and from some outstanding ISVs. The thought of how do we go after current customers with a couple of new offers that are in the context of what they already have, and utilizing trusted advisor relationship, things that really can't be replicated with marketing, to get into those accounts and quickly add more revenue from existing customers.
Excellent. Bill?
Our big bet, and it has been for the last 2 years, is content marketing. We wrote enough blogs and white papers and whatnot last year. Our digital marketing lead said we wrote 60,000 words of content that we published last year, and we're shooting for more than that this year. We do a lot of great things, and for Google to find you or to share that information, you've got to continue to create the content. And it all goes back to knowing who you are, knowing what your value proposition is, and then talking about it. And that's probably our biggest bet. Of course, going back to events, Kim mentioned that. We're going to do a lot with events, but we're going to continue with content marketing and shaping up our site and third-party sites and backlinks and all the things you read about. We're very focused on that.
That's great. You know, from the Crancer Group perspective, you realize how many emails are sent out every month to fill out, maybe they do 30 customer immersion experience events with average attendance of 15 people, 400,000 emails a month go out.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
To fill that.
And that's what I mean. I mean, we've been, I think marketers in the channel have been far too reliant on things like broadcast email, pay-per-click advertising, things where we're pushing a message at somebody. People don't really trust messages that are pushed at them. They trust messages they find. They want to go out and research, they want to find it, and they want to contact somebody that they can have a conversation with. So I agree with you. The pushing things on people, those days are gone. Buyers are way too smart.
They're way too smart. They want to learn a little bit. They want to, they go to places. And I think the last thing too is the whole, the events that turn into a timeshare. Okay. That I think you soft sell those things, and you really get people to understand, like, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm here to show you how much I know, and I can help you solve some problems, that way. Aditya, let me go over to you. Actually, I'm sorry, Scott, but let me just go over to Aditya, give a little bit different perspective. What are your big bets for this year?
I think it's critical to look at the business climate we are in, right? And I think 2023 is going to be a little bit interesting. What I mean by that is that, obviously people are coming out of COVID. So as a marketer, I tell people that, let's go back to the leads that we had generated over COVID and people could not respond to us, right? Let's go ahead and retarget those, some of the leads that we generated earlier. The second thing I think about is, kind of with this ongoing impending recession out there, right? How do we think about, adding value to, the customers, and how do we message it differently, right? One of the things that, some of our partners are doing is they're putting together these loyalty rewards programs, right? So kind of telling the customers, like, we're investing in you as you're heading into recession, right? And that's how we build and establish a deeper relationship with them. Right. And I think the final thing I would say is that, again, you don't need to evangelize or try to sell all the time. Right. You can start by saying that, hey, we are starting from a place, we worked with you before. We know your pain. You got a life. We understand that. Let's help you be successful as you move forward.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Scott.
Yeah,
what
mine's
are you thinking?
Different. I mean, I'm not necessarily the marketer like Bill and Kim are, and some, right? I'm directly involved day to day. So mine is really a big bet is building, more ecosystems with partners, building different partner ecosystems, right? Not just the traditional partners like Dynamics that we've worked with, but trying to reach out to all different types of partners, alliance partners that don't necessarily do what we do, and we can generate opportunities together and share work. And that seems to be growing. I'm getting more and more partners that are interested in coming to us and kind of saying, hey, look, we may compete in some areas, but we don't in others. We're better together, and trying to go through and generate more business for everybody. And that's like I said, I'm seeing some unique things. Like Satya says at Microsoft, right? Everybody is getting into being a technology partner. There's some organizations that you wouldn't think would normally be, out there wanting to, drive technology, but they are, right? They say, hey, Ford isn't an automotive maker anymore. Ford's a technology company with everything that they're doing and driving. And so, there's more and more partnerships like that are going to benefit a synergistic way, both organizations when they come together. So my big bet is building more of those kind of partner ecosystem relationships that make sense, for both parties.
Excellent, excellent. Well said. Who haven't I called on here? I had a Jeffrey.
Hey, welcome. No, my big bet this year, and I'll tell you, it takes a full team to be able to do what we're getting ready to do for 2023. And I want to be thankful for all the different people involved. We're going to be launching a new program, and earlier this week, if anyone's following me on LinkedIn, I wrote a message really early in the morning one day because I think I figured it out. I got a couple things that I want to test on it, right? And, I feel like we're family here a little bit. Kidding, but not really. I have a link that if you want to help me test, all right, fill this out because this is my big bet for 2023. We're launching a new program. We've talked about events. We've talked about industry. We're trying to bring the products together. We're bringing marketing. We're bringing campaigns together. This is what I'm spending my time on, and I am eager to finish out some of the testing on here. And what it is, it's Stratos Live, and we're running 6 live events each month. And we're leveraging our practices, our product teams. We're bringing the knowledge from ISVs and the marketing team. This is my big bet for 2023, and I hope that people can help us get through here because we are in this together and we are better together. So I've been really passionate about this. This is a passion project that I've been working on for a while, and I'm just eager to really bring it to market.
So I publicly endorse this. Check it out. Click on that link. I think there's going to be a lot of great stuff and content. I think that Stratos Cloud Alliance, their team, Jeffrey's got some great ideas. And you don't even need to be just a Dynamics partner. Now, the Stratos Cloud, they provide CSP licensing, or you can buy your CSP licensing, any licensing through them. As a differentiator, I just really think that they're really good. So with that being said, I want to say thank you everybody here. Thank you to Stratos Cloud Alliance. Thank you to Velocio.
They both work.
Yes. And Aditya from SkyKick. Oh my gosh, thank you so very, very much, for coming on here. We really do appreciate that. We hope that this was well worth your time, today, and kind of bringing up these ideas, kind of thinking it, and this is a little bit higher level. Maybe you're thinking of, okay, what are these very specifics? Happy to work with you. Happy to talk with you. Last thing is, please register if you want to go to that deep dive hands-on lab. That's next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Hands-on lab. You're going to get your own credentials. We're going to have you go through the Surveil tool. I'm going to walk you through it in a much larger thing. It's just a really neat way to take a look at that. So please register that. If you want to see how we make money with Surveil, click on that Surveil calculator thing there. Now, lastly, this is Scott May's. Actually, I'm sorry. Go back to Scott's contact information here. If you're thinking about, if you're a Dynamics partner that hasn't aligned with Stratos, call Scott. If you're an MSP that's thinking about breaking into some Dynamics or whatnot, call Scott. Reach out to them and do that. Now, if you're thinking about security, backup security, call Aditya, right? Get Aditya on the line. Really awesome there. With that being said, next month is going to be solutions partner designation. This is the big one, right? Oh my gosh, we got to talk about that because it happened this month, right? So we're gonna talk about, see how you did. We're gonna be talking about the pros, the cons, the wars, the battles that you've won or lost with this. So we'll do that. But anyways, we're landing the plane just like always. Everyone, thank you very much to the speakers. Thank you for coming, and for everybody on the call. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Appreciate all the stuff that you do. Thanks again.
Thanks, Sherman. Good stuff.
Thanks, Sherman.